The iPhone X is one of the most critically acclaimed and successful products in our technological world. It has four major components that we will discuss today that have proven its success in this environment. I will be discussing the hardware components of the iPhone X. I will first begin by giving a basic overview of the iPhone X and its hardware. Secondly, I will begin by going to the processing power, then to the storage capabilities, and lastly the graphics processing unit. For the first segment of the presentation, I will discuss the hardware overview. The iPhone X is one of the most impressive pieces of technology in our to date. This technology has the capabilities of almost the exact same functions of a completely full-size computer, but in the palm of your hand, you're able to complete the same exact tasks as a computer at your home. This shows that it is very functional, it is very convenient for a lot of people, and that's why it's such a high demand in this world. The next piece of information I will discuss is the processor. The iPhone X uses the A11 Bionic processor, which is one of the most powerful and impressive pieces of technology to date. It is a very simple microchip that is put into the back of the iPhone X, and it runs almost all processes on the iPhone X. It allows for easily interfacing between your software and your hardware. This is very important because when the iPhone X needs an update, this makes this much simpler for them to find and debug any sort of issues they're having with the iPhone X, and that is why there's a number of updates constantly being applied to the iPhones, and furthermore, in the newer generations, they can find them and fix them. Therefore, the processor benchmark. As you can see in this graph, the iPhone XS, XS, and X, all three of these use the A11 Bionic processor, and as you can see, they are the three leading phones in our world in processing power compared to the Samsung Galaxy S9, the LG ThinQ. All of them are nowhere in comparison to the iPhone X. They are all incredibly powerful, but none of them compared to the A11 Bionic processor. The next piece of information I will discuss will be the storage hardware. The iPhone X has offered multiple different versions of the iPhone to apply to different people's choices. The first is a 64 gig version and the other is a 256 gig version. Both of these offer a very large amount of storage depending on your needs. This can range anything from music to photos to videos. Any sort of storage you would need on your phone, this can easily support and hold all of your information. And if you run out of storage in this capacity, you also have the iCloud on the side. iCloud is another way to store your information separately from your phone, but you are still able to easily access at any time and anywhere. The last piece of information that I will discuss will be the graphics processing hardware. Now, this is one of the most impressive pieces of technology in the iPhone X. They are able to now play certain games almost at the same exact level as a standard console or computer. For example, Fortnite, one of the biggest games in the world to date, is able to be played on your iPhone X, and you are actually still able to play with anybody on a computer or on a console. Because of their compatibility with the A11 Bionic processor, they are able to render this game in 1080p, almost in 4K on certain devices, and it is one of the most impressive and visually stunning pieces of hardware in this world. This concludes my segment of the hardware components of the iPhone X, and now we will lead into the software portion.
Hi, my name is Mia Harvey, and today I'll be discussing the software of the iPhone X, which is iOS 12. Of course, with software, you always get the updates, but the newest one is iOS 12, which is new and improved. It makes everything smooth and fast, as well as it has new features that involves the camera, augmented reality or AR, and visuals. So this ties into video games, movies, and different kind of activities like Facebook. So its features for iOS 12, the performance is the biggest thing. It's faster and more responsive, smoother animation. It has a 40% faster app launch, as well as 50% faster keyboard display, meaning that you could type 50% faster, and 2 times faster share sheet display under load, meaning that it could, while a bunch of apps are running, it could still keep going more and more, and you can have constant apps running at the same time without slowing down your phone. The cool thing about this one is FaceTime. You can FaceTime up to 32 people at once, which is a lot. The new message app, which is called Animojis, where you can take emoji figures and make them move to your face and your sound. And then Siri, of course, which has been a key thing to Apple since it started, has new shortcuts, transitions, and you can actually do password search now to make things a lot easier for you. So, something that's really cool about iOS 12 is the new and improved parent controls, which is important to parents and families. You can control time limits, as seen here. You can control, you could see activity reports, so you could see how long you've been playing on games, how long you've been watching TV, how long you've been social networking over the week. You can also do block content and turn off in-app purchases, so that way the kids aren't accidentally spending $50 on video games. Augmented reality is the future of gaming technology. So with this one, for the new iOS, it's cool. You can now travel. You could play video games as seen here. You could also do education, so they have apps where you can dissect a frog, which is great for schools who are on a budget. Also, it has a lot of productivity. So there's an app where you can measure real life objects, as well as viewing possible placements on furniture and items with IKEA. They have that whole new system, which is really cool. And of course, with applications, that's the whole thing about smartphones is the apps. You could take the applications, take advantage of the iPhone X's hardware, augmented reality, huge screen, and camera. So it's a lot, and it really is just a cool thing. So that is all for me and software. I hope you enjoyed your time. Thank you so much for coming out tonight.
Hello, my name is Josh Steele, and today I'm going to talk about why the iPhone is better than Android in regards to security. There's a lot of different factors that go into play in security. It can be very complicated, very complex, but I'm going to keep it simple for you, and I'm going to go over what I believe are the 3 most important aspects of security that need to be addressed. The first one is the operating system, the second is hardware, and the third is the app in the App Store. The operating system is the most important aspect of your phone. It's how the phone works, it's how the phone looks, the user interface. Without it, your phone wouldn't work at all. The operating system that Apple uses is called iOS. The operating system that Android uses, they have a lot of different names because there's a lot of different companies that make Android products, but iOS is the primary one for Apple. iOS is much more secure than all the other Android ones because Apple's much stricter about what developers can actually do with their apps and their programs. Root systems aren't available for access. Source code's not available for access in Apple because it's not open source like it is on Android, but there's a good reason for it. Open source products are vulnerability nightmares. The actual hardware of the device is very important when it comes to security as well. The system storage on cheaper Android devices have a tendency to be very small, sometimes 8 gigabytes, 16 gigabytes, around that area. In order to make up for that, users will use micro SD cards and they'll increase their space, but when they do that, they create a security vulnerability in itself. A lot of times people will put files on that they get from friends or friends of friends. Sometimes they torrent them illegally and they can have viruses and malware on them, and what that does is it can turn your phone into a brick, it can have people spy on you, it can just mess with your phone in general. Apple has the ability to do that as well, but you have to go through a process of downloading like VLC or some other kind of file sharing program and then manually put it on, but it's much more prevalent in Android devices. Mobile carriers like T-Mobile or Verizon, they have restrictions about updates for phones, and updates are very important because they lower vulnerabilities and they keep the operating system and the phone more secure. When a new update is released, they have to get permission from the mobile carrier, and then they have to test it, and it costs money. Some of the smaller brands can't keep up, and they release updates less often because of that, and it's a vulnerability. And finally, the App Store and the actual apps that are created by developers. The iPhone has Apple has a very strict set of guidelines when it comes to what apps can be created, what's involved with actually creating the app, and because of that, there's a lot fewer apps than there are on the App Store for Google Play or for the Android store, but they're much safer and they're much less likely to have malware on them. Android and Google Play Store are open source, like I said before, so anybody can go in and create a program. They can create a program that's literally just a virus or malware, but disguise it as a game or something like that, and then you can download it on your phone. It'll have access to your private information. Could just wreck everything on your phone. Like I said, developer requirements are much more relaxed for Android and for Google Play Store. Well, now that I've shown you all the vulnerabilities that are associated with Android and Google Play and all those other app stores and the actual hardware and the operating systems involved, I think it's pretty obvious which operating system and which platform is better. So next time you're going shopping for a phone, I would highly suggest getting an iPhone. Thank you.